Today's lesson is on graphing quadratic functions. It's SOL A.14. A quadratic function is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is not equal to 0. Because if you do not have an x squared, then you will not have a quadratic equation. So, you should recognize this as a form of trinomial, the factoring we did back in December. And then the graph of a quadratic function is a parabola. So this is what a parabola looks like. It is a U-shaped. And it's important for you to understand that if a, the coefficient of x squared, is positive, then your parabola is going to be what's called a positive parabola, or a smiley face. You can think of it as positive people are always smiling. And here, if your a is negative, then your parabola is going to be a frowny face, and negative people are usually frowning. So the minimum is the lowest point on the parabola, and the maximum is the highest point. So let's look back at this. A positive parabola has a minimum, because that's the turning point of where it starts. It's going down, it turns, and goes back up. That's the minimum point. This is the maximum point. When it's a negative parabola, you have a max. And the vertex is the max or the min on a parabola. So the vertex is the place where the parabola starts changing directions. The vertex is always an ordered pair. The axis of symmetry is a vertical line containing the vertex of a parabola. So it's important to understand that a parabola is always symmetrical, and this is what the axis of symmetry is. It's like the fold line down the parabola. So there is a picture of a parabola. It is a positive parabola, so there's a min, which is the vertex is a min, and that fold line you see is my axis of symmetry. And the x value of the vertex is always what the axis of symmetry is. So your x equals whatever number that is. And where the graph, this is important, where the graph hits the x-axis, that's your solution. So the solution to a quadratic equation is where it hits the x-axis. This is also called the roots, the zeros of the function, or x-intercepts. So it can be called solutions, roots, zeros of the function, or x-intercept. And those are important. That's important vocabulary for you to remember. So remember, equation for the axis of symmetry is given by x equals negative 1b over 2a. And of course, you get your a, b, and c from your original parabola. So let's go ahead and do one of these together. So here, our trinomial equation is, our quadratic equation is x squared minus 4x plus 4. So the first thing we're going to do is designate our a, b, and c. So by plugging into my axis of symmetry formula, I solve for x. X is equal to 2. Now to get the vertex, to get the y coordinate, I have to plug that x back into the original quadratic equation to solve for y. So please watch. So Because it ends up y equals 0, then my vertex is 2, 0, which means on the graph that my fold line so here my vertex is right on the x-axis at 2, 0, and the fold line, the axis of symmetry, is running down x equals 2. So, and of course, because this is a positive parabola, it is a min. So now the way we set up our table is that we use the 2 in the middle, and we're looking for two numbers on either side of that. So to get all the values that go into the table, you plug your x value in to your original quadratic equation, x squared minus 4x plus 4, and you solve for y. So your solutions, that's your table. Let's go ahead and graph it. And remember, the solution of a quadratic equation is where it hits the x-axis. So in this case, it's a single solution, and the solution is 2. The domain is how far the x's are going to reach. And in this case, and in most cases you're going to be dealing with, the domain is all real numbers, because the x values can go as far as they want. But the range, what is the lowest y value? The lowest y value is 0. So the range is y is greater than or equal to 0. So if you want to go ahead and stop the video and try this one on your own, you may, but if not, you can watch me solve it. I will not be talking much while I'm doing it. Oops, made a mistake. I skipped the solution part of this because they don't end up being whole numbers. And I could factor it out and do it that way, but I'm not going to bother at this point in time. So we're just going to skip over this. You're going to see it in quadratic formula next lesson. Please note on this one that the parabola is positive. It does not hit the x-axis at all. Therefore, this is a no solution. Again, the domain is going to be all real numbers, but your range, what is the lowest y value? It's 2, so y is greater than or equal to 2.